Alright, fine. I'll talk about this. God damn it. So, normally I wouldn't make this kind of video, but I guess it's been blowing up in my mentions recently, so I figured I would maybe give my 2 cents on the matter, even though there has already been a ton of people who have made their own interpretations on the whole thing. But as the title suggests, let's talk about tourists. And no, I don't mean tourists in the traditional sense of, you know, people you see out and about exploring a country or anything like that. I mean tourists in the digital footprint sense, or more specifically, in the subculture sense. You know, people who are just visiting and checking it out, you know, looking at it from the surface and maybe getting a different perspective on it than people who actually live or are a part of said location. And the same thing can definitely be said for subcultures, and today we're going to be talking about the tourists of one particular subculture that I happen to have been a part of for quite a while now: anime. I think it's really nobody's surprise that, especially over, I would say, the past 5 years or so, basically ever since COVID happened and everyone was forced to stay inside, and a lot of people over COVID very much got into anime when maybe beforehand they didn't even have a split thought about it. And it was due to those extreme circumstances that we were all put into all over the world that a lot of people who previously didn't give a rat's ass about anime or Japanese animation of any sorts came out the other end being anime fans, or at least self-proclaimed anime fans. These, ladies and gentlemen, are what we call anime tourists. Or I guess that's what the internet decided to call them, because I only just found out about this term maybe like 2 weeks ago, and it's fucking hilarious. And especially over the COVID pandemic, and especially with the blow up of things like TikTok and short form media, there has definitely been no ending of this surge of anime tourists who are invading our sanctity and our sanctuous place. And you know, there is one particular video which I'm not going to give any attention to, and I'm not going to mention names because I've already used it in the thumbnail, and I'm sure most people are already aware of the situation. If you care to know what it is, then I'm sure somebody, or at least 20-something people in the comments, have mentioned their names. But a particular video was you know, sent to me, not just, you know, people who watch my stuff, but also personal friends of mine who were like, Joey, you're gonna have to see this video. And it was essentially very much a me-coded video. You know, this is a video that you would have seen maybe on my main channel like 5-10 years ago or something like that, where it's essentially a video of a bunch of anime fans, at least self-proclaimed anime fans, who go and rank every single first episode of every popular anime from every single year. When I saw that video, I was like, damn, that's kind of a cool idea. I kind of wish I made that video back in the day, or, you know, maybe I can still make it today if you guys want. So I was curious, you know, because it's not often that we get to see anime fans, or at least anime content creators in this platform, talk about the medium from that big of a spectrum. You know, most people are usually very quick to talking about the hot shows that are currently trending right now, or, you know, maybe shows that they grew up with, you know, maybe from like the 2010s or the 2000s or the 90s or stuff like that. But it's very rare that we actually get to see people going through the entire lifetime of anime, at least in the popularity sense, or the popular sense of televised anime from, you know, the 1960s or whatever. You know, I've done a couple of videos like that in the past, as you guys have hopefully watched and liked, and, you know, although I didn't grow up with the older stuff, I try to understand the significance and the history behind it, because the medium itself would be nothing without these giants whose shoulders all of these other shows have stood on. But man, this video... This fucking video. It was, not up to the standard that I was hoping for. Look, this isn't supposed to be some kind of, like, drama video, obviously. You know, I don't give a fuck about that kind of stuff, but I just find it really amusing as to just the visceral reaction that the online anime community had towards this video. Like, God, I don't think I've ever seen such a visceral reaction to an anime video in my 12 years of being an anituber. I thought I had some bad takes. I have been thwarted. And I had a lot of people being like, Joe, you gotta make a response video to it. You gotta make your own version of this video. You gotta come back and save Anitube, bro. And you know, look, I respect that, and I appreciate all of those kind comments. So if you did, you know, on social media and stuff like that, kind of, you know, weirdly defend me in a weird way, even though I had nothing to do with this video, thank you. But I think I want to use this opportunity instead to just kind of talk about the more broader underlying issue, the elephant in the room, if you will. Because anime tourism, or anime tourists, are a kind of a real thing. And, you know, even though this may be the first time I'm talking about it in a long-form video like this, I have been kind of subtly talking about it, you know, using my short-form content on, you know, things like Instagram Reels and TikTok and stuff like that, which, you know, if you missed that whole train, check this video, links in the description. There is a big reason why I, personally, kind of took a break from making anime content, and it was basically because of this very issue. Like, a lot of people think this whole anime tourism thing started only, like, recently. Like, I'm talking, like, a couple of years ago. No, it's this problem has been around for quite a while now. As much as I think that, yes, it is a problem in a weird way, I do also think it's an inevitability. So to start with, why is it a problem? Why is anime tourism or anime tourists a problem? Well, it's a problem for a number of reasons. And I think the biggest one may have to do with, you know, the perspectives of those who have been in the anime community, the online anime community, for as long as it's been around. Basically, I would say since, like, the early 2000s, you know, maybe the early 2010s, at least on YouTube and stuff like that. Because believe me, when I started the Anime Man channel back in 2013, there wasn't really an Anitube community. There wasn't really an anime community. There were, of course, yes, you know, great Anitubers who came before me and who were around before I came onto the scene. And there was most certainly an anime community online on things like forums and stuff like that. But it wasn't so much a community as just like a gathering, because the medium was so still niche and especially new in the Western world, and especially on the online Western world, that there wasn't so much a community of sorts. And it wasn't really until, I would say, like mid-2010s that it really started to become this like community, if you will. You know, because before then, it was very common in the real world, and I was a big victim of this, that if you came out and said that you liked these Japanese cartoons, you would just be bullied for it. Oh, you like these weird Japanese cartoons with like your anime schoolgirls and blah, 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 blah. I mean, trust me, I was there. I got bullied for it in school, you know, not only being the only remotely Asian kid in my school, but the only kid really who knew about this weird and wonderful world of Japanese cartoons. And so imagine my shock when, over the COVID pandemic, especially, and even a little bit before then as well, I'd say ever since the rise of TikTok, all of a sudden, those kids who were definitely at school bullying those kids who loved watching anime, then turned around and went, hey, you know what? Anime's actually kind of cool. Because God, let me tell you, you kids today, I don't want to sound like an unk straight off the bat, but you kids today have got it fucking easy. We ran so that you guys could walk. Now you don't get bullied for liking anime. You get bullied for liking the wrong anime. Can you imagine the amount of privilege that comes with? But all jokes aside, you know, there is most certainly now, because anime has become so much more of a mainstream thing and so much more of a hip and cool thing and an okay thing to enjoy, there is certainly now a new group of people who previously, again, did not even want to say the word anime out loud, but, you know, didn't take the medium all that seriously. And then now, because of things like shorts content and because of the COVID pandemic pushing everybody inside for years and years, and basically people getting so bored to the point where they're like, all right, fine, let me give this anime thing a go, and then ending up enjoying it, it created a bunch of anime fans. And let me just say right off the bat, I don't think that being an anime tourist is necessarily all a bad thing. I think everybody went through that phase at least once in their life. I think when back in like the early 2000s and stuff like that, or like the 2010s, if you started getting into the anime community, stuff like that, I think everybody at one point was an anime tourist. But we didn't call them anime tourists. We called them weeaboos. It's like kind of the same thing if you think about it. It's just like now it sounds less like a slur. You know, what is a weeaboo? A weeaboo is essentially just somebody who is non-Japanese, who loves anime so much to the point where they think they understand everything about Japan and Japanese culture and Japanese subculture, but in reality they are completely misguided and base all of their information off of fictional Japanese cartoons. And they create their entire personality around that so that they could fit in with a niche and fit in with who they think they actually are. It kind of sounds like an anime tourist. You know, it's essentially the same thing. But here is where I would differentiate a weeaboo from an anime tourist. And this is purely just my personal definition, so if you think otherwise, I'd love to know down in the comments, alright? I think the biggest difference between an anime tourist and a weeaboo is that anime tourists think that their opinion on anime is more correct than everybody else. What do I mean by that? Well, I think that a lot of these like anime tourists very much, you know, again, started watching anime over the pandemic and therefore have only really been exposed to, let's say, the past 5, maybe give or take 10 years of anime. And don't get me wrong, in the 10 years of anime since 2015, anime has certainly changed. You know, the type of shows that get big have changed, the quality has fucking increased, and there have been a lot of merits to the evolution of anime in the past 10 years. But I think at the same time, anything that falls outside of the scope of the past 10 years, and anything that falls outside of the scope of how they think anime is and how they think anime should be, is deemed as wrong or incorrect. And I think that's why you get a lot of these like newer anime fans now who hype up these current shows, you know, these like big shonen shows, you know, like Solo Leveling or Attack on Titan or Jujutsu Kaisen and stuff like that, and think that every anime that should be praised needs to fall under that same exact umbrella. That's like listening to a rock band and thinking that all music needs to sound like rock music for it to constitute as music. Which is ridiculous for me to even say out loud. They don't understand that, you know, not only has anime evolved over the past 10, even 5 years, but, you know, if you go back to like 2000s anime, or 90s anime, or 80s, or 70s, or 60s anime, the art and the medium has evolved vastly. Just like how Led Zeppelin sounds completely different to, say, you know, Muse, you know, just as a broad example, right? It doesn't justify the fact that Led Zeppelin is no longer relevant or it's crap or it falls outside of music. That's what these anime tourists, at least from what I have seen online, claim. You know, they think that they have entered this space and gone and looked around and gone, hey, everything that is like not epic fights and shonen and amazing animation and hype doesn't fall under what I constitute as a good anime, therefore it must be bad. I don't remember where I saw it, but I remember seeing a comment on like a TikTok or a YouTube video or something where somebody called these anime tourists, or at least this new rise or era of anime tourists as the Columbus era of anime. You know, much like Christopher Columbus, who went to the Americas, mistook it for India, and called the natives now a term that I'm not allowed to say anymore, and you know, claimed the land for themselves because you know, he was like, well, I discovered it, and fuck all of you guys. This is my place now. And I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what these anime tourists are doing. They're like coming to these unfamiliar lands, planting their flag in the soil, and going, we own this land now. out of the way, previous people. Your opinions are irrelevant now because you are old and your time is up and you don't know what good anime is anymore. But at the same time they claim all of this, they don't respect the history of the medium, they don't respect how the evolution has happened, they don't respect the cultural significance behind the evolution of the medium. They just look at it as something like cool and pop and fun, and a good way to get the attraction of the huzz. Yes, I did die a little inside saying that out loud. And you know what? I'm thinking about all of this and sitting here and talking about it and being like, shit, am I the problem? Like, have I just turned into such an unk now that I can't accept the fact that the online anime community has changed and the ethos of it has been replaced by these new and fresh faces and these darn kids nowadays coming to take over the land that we once held the flag on? You know, I don't know, because I'm sure there's a couple of people in the comments who are saying that exact thing, being like, huh, alright, Unk, you don't even watch anime anymore. Well, you know what? Maybe there's a fucking reason for that. Maybe it's because the way that I see the anime community now is not the same anime community that I was a part of and I grew up with. And I'm sorry if that makes me out to be an unk, but trust me, kids, you will feel this in about 5-10 years from now, whether you like it or not. Now, in saying all of this, there is, in my opinion, one positive thing that came out of this influx of anime tourists. And it's the fact that it really made the anime industry take itself a lot more seriously. Because we wouldn't have nearly as many anime movies, like big budget, big screen anime films. We wouldn't nearly have as high of an animation quality and production quality as we do now. We nearly wouldn't have as many just shows being made if it wasn't for this new influx of this demographic that was previously uninterested in the medium. Regardless of how you like to view anime today and how quote-unquote mainstream it has gotten, I think as an anime fan, we like to see the medium evolve. We like to see the medium get better in terms of just quality. Like, regardless of whether you don't like One Piece, or you don't like JJK, or you don't like Solo Leveling, or you don't like all of these, like, big mainstream shows that are getting these, like, movies now, you can't deny that a lot of these shows look absolutely fucking gorgeous. Like, I've only seen clips of the new Demon Slayer movie that is out in cinemas right now, and it's fucking astonishing how good this fucking movie looks. Like, it's almost making me consider going to go watch it, even though I didn't even finish season 2. A couple of days from now, the new Chainsaw Man movie is coming out, and I didn't think that they would be able to get better at the animation from the anime series, but just from the trailer, yeah, it looks freaking incredible. Like, we would not have anything like this if it wasn't for these anime tourists. Like, if anime was still just as niche of a thing in Japan, or especially in the West, we wouldn't be getting shows like this. We would probably still be stuck in, like, you know, early 2000s quality, which, you know, I have a soft spot for, don't get me wrong, that was my freaking childhood. But at the same time, I can also recognize that a lot of the shows don't look that great and haven't really aged all that well. And you know what? In a weird way, this kind of influx of anime tourists has also kind of taken me out of retirement. Again, I mentioned this in my previous video where I talked about Reels, or, you know, the fact that I started making more short-form content revolving around anime. These, like, I guess, quote-unquote anime tourists, if you will, that I have seen on things like TikTok and Instagram, have almost inspired me to start talking about anime again, because, my god, I thought I had some bad takes on anime. It almost inspires the bully in me to be like, hey, you know what? I feel like I need to teach these kids what actual anime criticism and opinions are all about. And it's so fucking funny to me, the amount of people, every time I upload like an anime-related short or an anime-related TikTok, or, you know, I comment on the video that inspired me to make this video, just the amount of people either, like, apologizing to me, being like, we owe this man an apology, or the fact that people are, like, I don't know, genuinely excited for me to come back to talking about anime and stuff like that. Look, at the end of the day, what am I trying to say here? Am I trying to say that, hey, go out there and bully all the anime tourists off the platform, or that, oh, anime tourism has ruined the sanctity of Japanese cartoons? No, I'm not really saying any of that at all. I think, if anything, if you are an anime fan who is not an anime tourist, and you're saying all this thing about, like, you know, get all the anime tourists out of here and stuff like that, I just don't think, you know, you should take them all that seriously. I personally have been having a lot of fun just kind of roasting anime tourists and, you know, just kind of in a funny way making fun of them for their bad takes. Because at the end of the day, that's all it is. They're just opinions. And yeah, you know, some people might be like, oh, but you know, if you have a big following online, then you have some responsibility to, you know, give the right information, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, at the end of the day, they're all just opinions, man. If you want to believe that Solo Leveling is the next coming of Jesus, or you want to believe that Astro Boy is the greatest anime ever created, that's cool, dude. You can feel that way. That's totally valid. But what these anime tourists need to realize, that as valid as it is to have opinions like that, you're also not free from any criticism either. So look, I'm not going to drag on this video much longer. All I'm going to say is this. If there are any people watching this video who identify as an anime tourist, or as someone who maybe got into anime over the COVID pandemic, I'm first of all going to say, welcome. One thing you will come to learn very quickly is that the anime community, the online anime community, are the biggest bunch of unforgiving dickheads on the internet. But at the same time, don't take it all that seriously, okay? Just chill, take your time with exploring the medium, and I think most importantly, come to appreciate the medium for what it is. Even though you personally may not agree with all of the different aspects that make anime, for example, you know, all of these like high school romances, or these questionable ages that some of these characters have, or some of the fact that, I don't know, older anime are maybe boring to you, or anything like that. Just try to understand and try to appreciate the culture and the subculture for what it is. Because regardless of whether it goes against what you morally believe is correct or superior, it ain't gonna change for you. You are just one person who watches Japanese cartoons going against 70 years of history that was created by a bunch of Japanese people back in the 60s. Just enjoy those shows for what they are, and if you have opinions on some of them, I say, don't be afraid to express them. Because you know what? Everyone started off as an anime tourist. It's just that anime tourists back in the day were self-aware enough to maybe, I don't know, take a little bit of time to actually explore the medium before expressing their opinions about it online. And at the same time, we took our time to appreciate the medium for what it is, the art for what it is. Because at the end of the day, regardless of how you view it or not, it is an art. And much like any art medium, there's a history behind it, there is a culture behind it, and it takes a lot of time to, like, get your foot really into that realm. I mean, fuck, I've been making anime content online now for over a decade, and I still go out and want to learn more about the medium, and you know, learn about how it came to be and what it will become. Because yes, even though there are a lot of shows in the medium that I absolutely love, and some that I absolutely despise, and a lot that I still haven't seen yet, I want to know more about the medium, and I love the medium for what it is. And if you are one of those people who don't appreciate the medium, don't understand the medium, don't give a shit about the history, don't give a shit about the cultural significance of all of this, maybe don't make a tier list video trying to dissect every single anime.